Welcome back to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. Our mission is to share what we have learned from our experience and the experience of others to help you make more money investing like a pro. We want to teach you how to create wealth by investing in real estate the Discount Property Investor way. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. I am your host, Mr. David Dodge. Today, I have an awesome guest with an awesome topic. So I'm really happy to be bringing Mr. Gus Castro on the show. Gus he's a big deal. He really is, guys. Gus is a big deal. I'm going to give a quick little intro before I introduce you guys to Gus, but Gus is a former Microsoft senior engineer who has turned into a real estate agent who has then turned into a sales guru, right? So Gus actually runs one of the largest inside sales teams for real estate investors and agents in North America. He currently has 65 agents strong working 50,000 outbound dials a day. Holy cow, that makes my head hurt. I'm going to repeat that. He's got a team of people making 50,000 calls a day, guys. Wow. Him and his team, they're setting 100 appointments with buyers and sellers every single day. I thought I was doing good at like 3 or 4 sometimes. Damn, he's doing 100 every day. Holy cow. This is awesome. Gus runs a 7-figure business and he has over 600 active clients. And Gus is got a really unique thing. I mean, basically, what I've, and of course, he's going to teach us all about this today, but from what I have learned thus far, real estate agents and real estate investors, they can get a massive ROI from Facebook leads. And, you know, I'm actually not doing Facebook leads. So I was telling Gus before we started the show here that, you know, I'm going to probably learn a lot from this. And I'm excited to have him on because, you know, we tested Facebook a while back and we didn't have a whole lot of success, but it's most likely user error. It usually is, right? And, but Gus's team work primarily with Facebook leads, and you set these leads up and he's got other vendors that can help you with that process. But essentially, once those leads come in, his team takes over and they're calling and qualifying and setting appointments and doing all of the stuff that typically most investors get bogged down with, right? Like basically the first thing that you want to outsource, in my opinion, is what Gus is doing. So Gus, thank you for coming on. I'm grateful for your time. I'm confident that I'm going to learn a lot and that everybody listening and viewing is going to learn a ton. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thanks so much, David. I love that intro. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm here to, you know, add as much value as I can to your audience, folks that are in the investment game, the wholesaling game. I definitely think you should take a look at Facebook. And there's a lot of, you know, there's some challenges to working with it for sure. It's not super easy to use sometimes. There's a lot of restrictions on it for real estate and for investing specifically. Mm-hmm. So as long as you kind of understand that part and kind of work around it, I think it can be a great lead source for folks.
Awesome. Awesome. So Gus, let's jump right in. I mean, really, like before we get into like the you know, the fine print here, not the fine print, but the details of it, let's take a step back, right? And let's talk a little bit about how you went from Microsoft to real estate investing to doing what you do now, if you don't mind.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, I got recruited out of college. I actually went to school in Mexico. And, you know, I got recruited out of college to work for Microsoft a long time ago. So Microsoft was the only game in town back then, early 2000s. It was the be all end all of technology. People remember that. And, you know, I went to work there and I stayed there for a decade. I worked for Microsoft full time from 2004 to 2013, plus a couple of internships when I was a student, right? So I love the company. Yeah, it's a great company. But you know, I always had the bug, right? I knew that I had, you know, other skills, stuff that, you know, the corporate world didn't super value, right? I could talk to people. I was good with people. I was good, at connecting folks. They always called me the networking engineer. Like I was a little bit too salesy, right? And other engineers, I don't know if you work with them or not before, David, but they get a little bit, hesitant when people are a little bit too good at sales around them. Engineers are very, straight to the point, focused, analytical. Sales skills sometimes can get in the way, right? So my wife is the one actually that kind of pulled me into the business. She got licensed in 2008, like right as the world was ending.
Great time to get licensed, though. Really, truly, though, because
honestly, yeah,
banks weren't lending anymore, but the motivated sellers are still there.
100%,
right?
100%. I had no idea about investing. I'm not from the U.S. This whole thing was new to me. But during that time, watching my wife, the work that she did, she would work with a lot of investors, right? And I would find people, this is in the Seattle area, people would pick up 5 properties, 8 properties, 10 properties through, straight up purchase, short sales, foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, all of this stuff going on in 08, 09, 2010, 2011, the very early stage of the crash. It was a bonanza. It was crazy. And I saw, hey, when these things happen, there's some people that are looking for those deals. There's people that are looking to, especially like in short sale situations, the homeowner is trying to look for someone to pick up that property, right? So, there was people that were looking for that. The agent would help connect them, all these things, right? So I discovered investing. I discovered the world of real estate. And I got licensed in 2010 to help out my wife. In 2013, I went full-time to work on the residential side, on the retail side, because that was picking up a ton. My wife was getting super busy with that. And I never looked back, man. That was 2013. I left, the corporate life, jumped into entrepreneurship, started this company, PowerISA, inside sales company in 2015.
I didn't even introduce your company. I apologize.
Oh, no worries.
Gus Castro
that's where I
from
jumped into.
PowerISA. Come on, Dave. You can do better than that.
You got it.
You can do better than that, Dave. Oh, go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no worries. And, so started doing that in 2015. And I moved back I go back and forth between the U.S. and Mexico now. My team is based out of Mexico. Folks that, native English speakers, folks from the U.S. living in Mexico. And they're my team. They're my virtual team. We're a virtual call center now.
I like that. I love that you lead with that, and you don't, like transparency is everything to me. Yeah. I just did an hour and 20-minute conference with 2 sellers that came in, and they had every question in the book. And it's annoying sometimes when you do this all day, every day, like we do, right? But I enjoy making sure that they leave feeling comfortable. But I got 2 contracts signed 5 minutes ago, so. Boom.
That's a good day, man. That's a good day. It's not bad.
Hey, that's a good Friday right there, right? Two contracts. I didn't even have to pick up the phone, too. They came to me. So very cool.
There we go. 100%.
Awesome.
100%.
Awesome.
So, I built this company, built this team, initially focused on retail real estate, residential, real estate agents, loan officers. But I got approached by actually wholesalers were the first people that approached me. Said, hey, Gus, I hear you do calling, or one of my agents that I work with hired you guys to do prospecting or do appointment setting, to do conversion. And hey, I have, 100 leads, 1,000 leads, 5,000 leads, and they're getting more, and they wanted some help with that, right? They wanted to add a cold calling into their arsenal, and they wanted to stop cold calling. They wanted to leverage that out. Or they were doing online leads, either Google pay-per-click or Facebook or whatever, or ringless voicemails, texting, and they wanted someone to help out with the calling, right? So that's where we come in. So anytime in real estate, someone needs to do phone calls, either they're cold calls or they're inbound lead conversions, that's kind of where we come in.
Man, 600 plus active clients, 65 callers. I got to ask, man, this isn't even like part of what I typically ask. How do you manage all that? Wow.
Yeah. So actually, that's a really good question, because when I was in real estate, I only had my team. I struggled to manage like 3 or 4 people. That was it. That's all I managed.
I got 10 or 12 on my team, and I can't keep my head above water half the time. Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, when I was at Microsoft, I managed 5 people, between 5 and 7 people at any given time. I was a full-time manager. That's all I did. I just managed my people on some projects. That's mostly what I did all day. Well, I've got 65 people, but I guess the trick there is I still only manage 5 people. And those are the people I actually talk to every day, the ones that I hold accountable and the ones that I lead, right?
That's the trick.
They
you got
turn,
managers
right?
that manage other managers that manage
that manage managers. Yeah. I've got middle managers, and I got one of my teams, my colony team has 2 levels of managers. So, right?
Gotta.
Direct
you have that many
supervisors.
people, man, you have to.
You got to. No one can really handle more than, on the calling side, maybe 10 to 15 people. Any more than that, they don't even know what their name is. They don't even know what call them. I have no idea, right? But even as you go higher, maybe 5 people is it, man. That's it, 5 people. That's probably the max you should do. So if you look at it that way, I still have a team of 5 people. And that still takes up most of my time, managing them and they figuring it out. But, I'm just training them. What do they do when they talk to their employees, right? To their team members, and what so on and so forth. So, I mean, it sounds simple. It is simple. It's just not easy to do, right? And you have to just get, it's a skill, right, David? You're good at talking to sellers. You were great at that a couple of years ago. And you're much better now. I sucked at hiring and firing people a few years ago. With practice, to get to 65, David, I've gone through hundreds of people.
Oh, probably close to 1,000, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of folks. And hiring, holding accountable, and firing if they don't do it, keeping them if they do, is a skill you get better and better and better at. The thing is, I hire 5-10 people a week, right? Some people hire 5-10 people in their whole careers. So I'm gonna get way better at it faster than most people.
I love it. Well, Gus, let's jump in. Thanks for answering that question too, because usually it's a simple answer to a dumb question, right? And that was kind of a dumb question, but 100%. I was just curious.
I'm not smarter than most people. I just get better practice, and I just adapt a little bit faster. That's it.
I love it. So, Gus, everyone that's listening, including me, we want to jump into the meat potatoes, man. We want to know what's going on. So, how real estate agents or investors, how can they get a massive return on investment from Facebook leads? Again, I was telling you before we started that I've tried it in the past, and I didn't really have a whole lot of success, but I'm about 90% sure that it wasn't Facebook, it was David that wasn't having that success, right? So how can agents and investors get a massive ROI from Facebook leads? Let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I want to do first is want to say, Facebook is great. Facebook's not the be all end all, right? Like any investor, probably a lot of people have the base of their business in, let's say, direct mail, right? Like driving for dollars, so I mean, every investor that I work with, Facebook is one tool in their toolbox. It's not the only thing that they do. I don't want to represent it that way.
Sure.
Typically, the investors and wholesalers we work with, they've got a base in direct mail, maybe ringless voicemails, text messaging, and they have Google pay-per-click, and they have Facebook as another part of that, because Google is getting expensive, right? It's pricey. Getting those leads through pay-per-click is.
I did Google AdWords
what do you typically?
Time. And
you were priced out of it, right?
I got priced out. Here's the thing. I'm pretty lazy, so I like to choose marketing methods that can allow me to be lazy. So like radio advertisements are one of my faves because I don't have to do anything. I just make sure that the bill's paid. AdWords was similar 100%. To that, but man, the cost per lead has gone through the roof. So I don't do AdWords right now, but I think that's also due to it's supply and demand, right? How many people 100%. want to run those ads? That's the demand, and as the demand goes up, the supply or the cost of the lead is going to go up with it, right? So I totally agree with what you're saying. Absolutely.
100%. So, as a practitioner, you know what I'm talking about. And all of these methods, they all work, right? They all work. I don't think none of them you're going to get 0 deals out of, but it goes back to what you just said. What's the time investment? You need to manage it. What's the cost? Cost per deal, cost per acquisition. Cost per acquisition is kind of the name of the game. What is it at the end of the day? And let's say you can get a decent cost per acquisition, but you got to be in the AdWords manager every day trying to put out the fires. Hey, this keyword went up to, I think, when I was doing pay-per-click, it went from like $2 a click to like $15, $18 a click for real estate.
40,
like homes.
50 in some markets.
40. Oh, yeah. For motivated sellers, I'm sure it's through the roof, right? Because a lot of investors built their business on Google AdWords, and now, more people want to jump into the game, right? So same deal. It's always something new, David. It's always something new.
Is.
Right
it's
now,
a cat and mouse game, man. That's
you got to go to the next one. You got to go over next, 100%. And, and another one, like YouTube is another lead source. And I know, people have overlooked a lot, but I'm like, I say, let me go to Facebook first, and I'll tell you why YouTube isn't interesting compared to Facebook. So Facebook, lots of attention, tons of people on the platform, billions of people.
I mean, who's not on it? I mean, let's not even talk about who's on it.
It's crazy.
Who's not on? I know like one or two people in my entire circle that aren't on Facebook. Come on, everyone's on it.
Yeah, and maybe they won't admit it. They actually have an account.
They probably have an account that they don't tell you about. Everybody's on
Yeah.
it. Everybody's on it.
Exactly. There's a reason, people pay so much attention. There's a lot of scrutiny on it too, right? Because everyone uses it. So what happens to Facebook comes out with an ad product about, 5-6 years ago. I tried it when it first came out. I thought it was garbage. I'm like, man, these people are not motivated. These people are just, most of them are like bogus numbers. The data's bad and there's zero motivation. I'm out of here. This was back in, 2012, 2013. Early days of Facebook advertising. Well, there's a couple things that change, right? That algorithm that figures out who's who gets better every day. Actually, it's a little bit better every day.
Second.
Why
it's crazy. Right?
Every second. Yeah, it does. It does. So a year ago, about 18 months ago, that algorithm got so good that actually the government stepped in and said, whoa, guys, like, hey, a lot of the stuff you can do with Facebook is so powerful, you can actually discriminate people now, right?
Yeah.
You can actually exclude people that you shouldn't exclude, not in the US at least, right?
Right.
Like, hey, they brought down the hammer on Facebook and they created this thing called the special ads category. I won't go into a ton of detail, but it made the super hyper targeting you could do on Facebook, it reduced it for real estate and employment and credit stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
So it made it harder to hyper target people. Well, a funny thing happened though. Everyone was predicting it's the end of real estate on Facebook. It's gone. Well, there's more people advertising now than there were 18 months ago on Facebook. What does that mean? There are ways that you can still get great ROI, but you can't do the super hyper targeting you used to be able to do. But now there's a ton of emphasis on what you put in the ad, the copy, the keywords, the way you phrase things. Because number one, you got to get it past compliance. You cannot put, you cannot write an ad, David, saying that, hey, David, I know that you're having problems, keeping your property. Let me take it off your hands for some cash. Facebook won't allow that. You've got to phrase it in a way that it doesn't make people feel like, hey, this guy, how does this guy know that I don't have any money?
Gosh,
holy cow.
Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. And this is experience with what you just said. I was trying
100%.
to get some ads running on Facebook probably 5 or 6 months ago. And I spent a week with zero success because it was the words I was using, the way I was writing.
And the compliance. You never got past compliance.
I never even got past. I didn't even get the opportunity. Now, this wasn't trying to find motivated sellers. This was trying to just teach people how to wholesale and be real estate investors. But I didn't know it. So I literally I was basically forced. And I'm really happy with the decision that I made to go with this local company that I'm using now, right? But I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure it out. Like you got copy is everything. And it's, I was trying to do a lot of extra stuff that didn't need to be done. And that's kind of what the company that I hired said is, man, you just need to just less is more. Let's get this out.
Yes, kind of scale it back a little bit. Don't too much. And actually, that also goes back to what Facebook is. Remember, people don't go on Facebook. It's different than Google. Google is, how do I sell my home fast, cash fast?
Yeah, what, how,
property,
where, or when.
houses. Yeah. Google is very specific about that.
Right.
Facebook is nothing like that, right? I'm not on Facebook seeing who can buy my house, right? Or I can unload the property I got, from my uncle or whatever, right?
It's more of a place for somebody to go get entertainment than it is for them to search something. It really
100%.
Is. So
yeah, 100%. And now people have television shows on YouTube. People have like a lot of these, I do a lot of interviews and podcasts. Some of these podcasts only publish to Facebook now, right?
Now.
That's all they do.
Isn't that crazy?
Facebook Live. So Facebook is it's insane. And it's a huge platform for all kinds of stuff, right? So people are there for anything but business, usually. They're just there to entertain. They'll see what their friends are up to. So you got to get their attention. That's it. And even you can write 18 paragraphs in your ad. They're only ever going to read the first line. And they're only ever going to see that one image you put up there. So that's what you have to focus on, number one, right? But, and here's kind of, some people can miss this. Even though the consumer can't see the 18 paragraphs you just wrote, The algorithm can see that. The algorithm can actually read that, can actually say. So the people that I see have a success on Facebook, on the creative side. Again, I don't want to come off as an ads expert. I'm not an ads expert. I just see a lot of ads.
Let us
I see
know
a lot
what
of
you
people
know.
doing this, right?
Hell yeah.
100%. So what they do is they give the algorithm as much information as they can. Hey, are you going through any kind of life event? You know, hey, medical bills. Did you get, you know, did you just go over, lose your job? Did you have to relocate ASAP? You know, and can we help you out with that? We have a special offer we're able to give you. We can give you options, right? And you have to play around with those words because it's very, very sensitive. You know, the cash now, and you don't have a job. You know, the way you phrase it matters a lot. And I know it's kind of crazy. Some people do end up hiring marketing agencies, maybe hire some pros. I think people should do what you did, David. You got to try it out yourself. Fight out with it a few days, fight with it a few weeks, see what you can get out there. But the key thing is try to phrase it differently. Do not phrase it like you know that person has an issue. It will never get approved.
Don't start off with, are you broke? Because your ad's going to get denied.
Need cash now?
Yeah,
no,
and the reason,
no.
and there's a good reason behind it, which I didn't really realize in the beginning. I'm thinking, well, Facebook's going to take my money, right? Like they're going to let me say whatever I want. Wrong. They want to keep people on the platform. So they don't want people to think that they're getting targeted because they know that they need to sell their property or that for this or for that. So you're a
distressed seller. You're an emotional, financial distress.
A little bit and be a little bit more broad, or just maybe be solution oriented, not problem oriented.
100%.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Definitely.
Anything that indicates that you might know what they're going through is going to get flagged.
It's going to get
flagged.
It's not even
creepy.
It's not even going to get past those the compliance.
The compliance.
Right.
100%. So less is more in that aspect, but give them options, right? Options. We can close on a home in 7 days. We can do this. We'll take a property as is condition. So make it more solution. I like the way you phrase that, more solution based than about them, right? So, you know, that kind of issue can be useful. And as long as you can get it past compliance, you can play around with that text, right? So get it past, you know, the screeners and monitors. Yes, it might take 24 hours to get approved. It might take more than that to get approved. If it takes more than 24 hours for me, I submit a new one. I'm like, hey, that one's never coming back. Who knows where that one went into the funnel somewhere. Let me make a separate one and see if that one gets approved.
Yeah, so I like
that
mindset. I think that makes perfect sense.
100%. So, and once you get that creative out there, right, and it gets approved, yes, it will generate attention. They'll generate clicks. People can send you that information. So when someone clicks on your ad and sends you their information, that's where we come in, right? You know, PowerISA as a company, or you know, whoever you've got. Maybe you're taking those calls. If you're a solo investor, your cell phone's gonna ring. You want to get back to those folks. That's important. Another thing that I've seen that helps people, especially with the distressed sellers, is not to send people directly, you know, to your phone or as a text, but to actually send people over to a landing page. You want them to fill out a questionnaire because you don't want anyone that just wants cash fast because they might not qualify. They might not be a homeowner. Their home might not be in the right condition. You actually want them to answer a few more questions. Because I don't know if you clicked on that Facebook ad recently, David, but they call it, there's a feature called instant response, right?
Yeah,
where you can just click on the ad and it sends your information.
Facebook basically has the web form built into it, and it uses your data even. So yeah, there's a couple different cool options, but versus you taking that traffic off of Facebook onto your landing page, which again, you guys just heard me say user error, right? There's a lot of ways to screw it up. So just eliminate it. You said it, Gus. I don't have any tattoos on my body, but I was thinking the other day, I was literally like, man, if I was to get a tattoo, it would say less is more. That's it. It would be 3 words. Less is more. And I'm kind of debating on it just somewhere, you know, just something small. But just so it keeps reminding me over and over and over, guys, less is more. Why do investors struggle? Because they're usually over analyzing something, right? So just simplify this. Like investing in real estate starts with getting a deal on a piece of property, right? You guys have heard me say this before. You make your money when you buy, you get paid when you sell, but you got to get a deal. Next, you get that deal under contract and you shop it to your investor partners. Then you find a buyer, you double close or you assign and you get paid. That's it. Like, it's incredibly simple. But the human mind wants to make it so damn complicated that you get analysis paralysis and you don't ever even start marketing to motivated sellers, which is where it all begins. So Gus, I can't agree more. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, 100%, Dan. I think, it goes to the heart of, what a wholesaler, what an investor can do. Some of the more successful ones that I've met, they didn't start with direct mail. They started by just talking to people in the neighborhood, right? They knew their neighborhood, their target neighborhood. In some instances, they lived there in their target neighborhood, and they would just get up and walk around and talk to people, right? I mean, it all works. All that stuff works, right? But simple is good sometimes, right? Simplify. Everything. I have a big company now. Everything tends towards complexity, man. It takes leadership, and it takes taking a step back and go, whoa. What is the easiest, simplest way to do this?
Nowadays, the leader's main role, though, is to make sure that it's simple. Because if it's too complex, people quit, they leave, they don't know what they're doing. They then get analysis.
Focus.
It's focus, man. And that's really what less is more means, in my opinion. Yeah. It's focus. I'm not saying make less money. That's not more. Let's be realistic. But focus, less, it's really like this. Less distractions allows for more focus. That's the long sentence. The short is less is more. But really what I mean is less distractions equals more focus, and more focus is power. That's how you move the needle, folks. Period. Yeah. You want to move the needle? It's not by working harder or being busy all day. We all know that busy isn't productive. Productive is productive. So you want to move the needle? Less distractions, more focus. You're gonna win every time.
Yeah, 100%. And and as an investor, it's about deal flow. What are the activities and things you can do to generate those leads, to generate that deal flow at 100%? And like you said, as an investor, as you advance in that career, you start leveraging out some of these activities. And if you're using Facebook or Google or YouTube or all these different online, I'm going to take a step back. Once the lead comes in, it doesn't really matter where it comes from, right? Yes, there's context there for sure. But at the end of the game, it's a conversion game at that point. You've solved the lead generation problem. Okay, great. You're generating leads. You're sending them to a landing page. They're going to get further qualified. The cost per lead is going to bump up. That's understood. But that person filling out that form, what condition is their home in? What kind of situation are they going through? What's their credit score range?
The more things you ask, the better for qualification. But the more possibility and or opportunity of them being screw this, I'm leaving, right? Absolutely.
100%. But I tell everyone, in the marketing parlance, it's called long form. It's a long form lead, versus short form, which is click the button, instantly send it over, right? That's the lowest cost per lead because more people can click on that and send you their information. There's a trade-off though, right? And here's the crazy thing. Again, as investors, people figure this out. If you're doing any kind of advertising, the more friction you add, you're going to get more qualification. Even if that lead is higher cost, what really matters at the end of the day is your cost per acquisition. How does it affect your cost per acquisition? What we've seen, again, by managing hundreds of campaigns, helping people convert these deals, is that a higher cost per lead has sometimes very little to do with cost per acquisition. In fact, it can be the opposite. Higher cost per lead can actually decrease your cost per acquisition because you're having less appointments, but more people attend those appointments, and you're closing more deals out of those appointments, which is what matters at the end. So if people are listening to this, the takeaway is try out those long form, try out that friction, because that can actually reduce your cost per acquisition. So that's what we try to help our clients do, right? So once the lead comes in, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where it came from. It goes into the funnel, and it's a conversion game at that point, right? So that's how we help people out. We start that conversion game, instant response. We're on the phone trying to connect with folks, whether it's text message, phone call, and get the dialogue started, get the conversation started.
So you guys aren't
additional qualification.
Love it. Yeah. So you guys aren't an agency that's helping people set up these ads. I'm sure you have people that you can
correct.
So, but I want to make that very clear, 100%. Guys. I know that, but I just want to make sure that all the listeners and the viewers are aware of that. Gus isn't the guy that you hire to get your ads up. You have to do that on your own, or hire somebody, to help you with that. But that's actually good. I like that he doesn't do that, because just like my eviction attorney, he is terrible at debt collecting. Let him stick to the evictions, and I get a debt collector to do my debt collections. You don't want somebody that's doing 5 things, because they're going to suck at those. This is the truth. So Gus, the fact, well, most of the time, I'm telling you, I know, because I've failed a lot. And it's mostly because of the decisions I made that I thought were better because somebody was doing more. Did I not just say less is more, guys? You heard me say that a minute ago.
100%.
So Gus,
100%.
I love that you don't do that. There's a million people out there that can help you do that. And because you don't do that, that you're not spread really thin. Instead, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know exactly, but I'm thinking, instead, when those leads come in, your team is the one that's working them, setting those appointments, answering live calls and or calling the leads that come in back, and then qualifying them, so on and so forth. Am I right?
Yeah, 100%. And, and our company exists because that job is a grind. I mean, maybe it's easy to make that first call. Yeah, that second call, but making the 5th call, 10th call, 12th call, we have some campaigns that are 12-month follow-up campaigns, right? Call for the next year. So that's where we help people out, right? And when we get in contact with the person, it's qualifying them, it's converting them, and setting up either an acquisitions manager, if that's part of the team, or the investor. Maybe the investor's hiring us, and boom, send that person over to them. So that's the part of it that we do. So in that aspect of it, which is what we do the most, day in and day out, there's some things everyone should do, right? There's some things we've learned how to do. Number one is speed the lead. It matters, right? 100%, right? And if you're a solo investor, oh, Gus, I can't make that call that fast. I'm busy. I'm on appointments. I've got another job. There's no excuse. There's automation that can help you do some of this stuff, right? At least text people out. At least email them. Do something. Like, do something that shows them, yeah, you're there. Give me your information. Hey, fill out this form. Can you please help me out with that? Whatever it is, get the ball rolling right away, immediately. The consumer expects an instant response nowadays. If they're on Facebook, they want to know what's going on right off the bat. Number two, you got to have some kind of follow-up plan in place, right? You cannot just call them once, call them twice, call them 3 times. We know, and just by all the amount of campaigns and leads that we handle, that 60 days, 14 touches is going to get you to talk to the majority of those leads, 50% plus 1. 60 days, 14 attempts, right? So whenever I hear people saying, oh, Facebook doesn't work, it's no good, I'm like, how many times did you try to reach these guys? Oh, I called them like twice. Not good enough. Oh, I called them 5 times. Better, still not good enough.
Still
if you're
not
in
good
that range,
enough.
Yeah, not good enough. If you're doing 60 days, 14 touches, okay, that's a very good amount of touches. Okay, there. Now we can talk about response and lead quality and other things. Otherwise, you're just not playing the right game. They want to play a game where if the first person they call turns into an appointment, like, well, you're playing the wrong game. This is not the rules that Facebook plays by, right? These leads are top of the funnel. They're very top of the funnel. You got them in another context. You got to work them. And yes, you have to work Facebook leads harder than other leads. That's 100% true.
Guys, check this out. I'm going to just go. I'm going to veer off for 90 seconds, and then we're going to come right back here. Sales statistics, right? 48% of salespeople never follow up with the prospect. That's half. 25% of salespeople are going to make the second contact and stop. That's a fourth. 12% are going to go to 3 contacts and stop, and basically 10% or less are going to do more than 3. Gus just said his people are doing 14, whatever that number was, over a 60-day period. Do you guys think that Gus's team are going to be getting deals? Hell yeah, they are. Wow. So let's reverse this out. We just talked about the number of people that are actually doing the follow-ups in terms of the percentages. Now let's talk about the number of people that get to, like, let's say the 4th or the 5th actual contact and how they're able to make a sale, right? So 2% of sales, guys, they're going to be made on the first contact, 2%. So if you're spending money on anything, it doesn't matter if it's the Facebook ads or AdWords or direct mail or cold callers or radio ads or whatever, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. 2% of salespeople are going to make a sale on the first contact. And it could be less than that. 3% on the second contact, 5% on the third contact, 10% on the fourth contact. 80% of sales are going to be made between the 5th and the 15th contact. 80%. So, Gus, I told you before this that I didn't know much about this and that I was going to be really interested to interview you, not only because I want my audience, my listeners, my viewers to learn something new, but I'm learning something new right now because I'm super excited to hear more about what you guys are offering, because I'm not doing 5 to 15 contacts on every lead. I try to, but there's only so much time in the day, and this comes up and that comes up, and wow. So I'm done with my little tangent
100%.
there, but it's so powerful.
100%. And I love that number, Dave, because that's exactly what I'm seeing, right? The 5th to 15th, I mean, I just threw out 14. Right?
Yeah,
I'm going,
if you're jump all the 14, way in, boom.
You're in the wrong game, right? You're not looking at it the right way. And if you approach it with that kind of mindset, then it's not a grind to do the first, second, and third call. This is a 14-touch game. If you want to play the game, that's how it's played, right? Don't hate the play or hate the game. That's the way Facebook works. And if you approach it with that mindset, you're not going to feel frustrated after the 5th call. No, bro, this is a 14-call game. Go for it. Set yourself up to be successful in that kind of game. So that's important to do. So like I said, number one, you have to have some way to have speed to lead, number one. Number two, you've got to be ready with that 14-touch follow-up plan, at least that, right? Go into it with that expectation and you will get results from it if you go into it with that expectation. The third thing, and this is super important, as important as the other two, because I see a lot of investors, agents fail at this. They're doing all this work to get in touch with the person. You're going to talk with them. You got to be ready with what you're going to say. Right? You've got to be prepared for that conversation. You've got to be ready to go. You've got to have your objections handlers ready to go. You got to have the answers to these common questions. You got to be able to close for the appointment, right? And again, remember, even if this is a motivated seller, even if they meet all of your criteria, you still have to convince them to meet with you. You got to give them a reason to meet with you, right? And it might not just be that you can give them cash fast. That might not be it, because you might be in competition with other investors, in competition with Zillow, in competition with these other iBuyers. What sets you apart? If you cannot tell me in a concise conversation, David, why I should go with you instead of going with Zillow, I'm going to go with Zillow, right?
Yeah.
All things being equal,
not
the brand is going to win.
Louis
if all things equal.
Has heard of House Sold Easy or whatever the company is. Everyone's heard of Zillow, right? So you got to have some sort of strategic.
100%.
Absolutely, man. I love it. Yeah. So,
yeah.
well, let me ask you this real quick. The top Facebook campaigns to run right now, let's say the results that you've seen from like the last 30 days. What do those consist of? Is it the long form ones? Is that what you're seeing that work the best?
So long form. So I'll give you an example. So regular, Facebook ads that have like a lead form, the instant response thing, instant fill out, very quick, very low cost per lead. You can get leads on the retail side. You can get leads for 50 cents a pop with that system. Those convert. About 10% of those are going to want to talk to you, like an appointment or a life transfer, like something immediate. 10%.
That's 10%. Pretty good, man. You're talking $5 to $10 for somebody that wants to talk. Like, I'd take that all day.
Not bad. Not bad. On the retail side, not bad. Always on the investor side, it's going to be pricier, but just to compare apples to apples. So if you put long form on the retail side, long form, the cost per lead is going to go up. It can double, it can triple. I've seen it go up 10 times, right? From 50 cents to $5 to $10 to $15 a lead. But the conversion to people wanting to talk to you, 30% of people want to talk to you. Wow. 40% of people want to talk to you, right? Yeah. So the cost per acquisition, like I said before, that starts to look better with some of these long form leads. So long form is killing everything else at the moment. And again, in 6 months, it'll be something different. It'll be YouTube ads. It'll be video, something. But right now, I'm talking about the fall of 2020. Long form is kicking everybody's butt right now.
Holy cow. Hey, what would be like a couple steps? Like, I don't know, maybe give me 3 steps to help convert more online leads. Because again, I didn't really have much luck with it at all. What would you recommend would be a couple steps to help people? Because I'm sure there's a lot of listeners and viewers that are already doing some sort of online lead. I don't know if it would be AdWords or Facebook or, YouTube or whatever, but what would you say would be some tips and tricks to convert more of these online leads?
Awesome. So you're going to love this. And people might be familiar with this or not. There's a tool out there called Zapier.com.
Oh, I love Zapier. Zapier. Yeah, same thing. Zapier. I love Zapier.
That one. The Zaps, right?
Yep.
So when I mentioned that speed to lead problem, right? There's a problem about speed to lead that people can really struggle with. Zapier, that's a solution to that, right? Number one, right? If you want to have speed to lead and you're not able to be on the phone and you don't have staff, you don't have an ISA yet, you don't have anything like that, Zapier is your best friend. Check it out. It can help you set up some of those instant responses. That's number one. Number two, on the follow-up side, man, the follow-up side is always a grind. There's no easy way to do follow-up. I'd love to have a magical follow-up system that people can just follow. But number one, get a CRM, right? As an investor, you are a professional, right? You're a professional salesperson. You might not know it as an investor, but you are a professional salesperson. You got to have a CRM. And you might not have to go with Podio. Get Zoho. Zoho's $10 a month or $5 a month, whatever. And a very decent CRM, because that will help you keep track of those follow-ups. You have to know which calls you have to make that day. Do not rely on Excel or some kind of spreadsheet or some kind of post-it system.
Or your brain. Do not rely on your brain.
No, forget about that.
So I've been using Podio for 5 or 6 years, and I actually just moved over to realestateinvestors.com's REI Touch. And they have a lot of the built-in zaps from Zapier built in. Whereas Podio, you have to use GlobiFlow and Zapier and Right Signature and this and that. It's great by all means. But it's like, man, like when I take on a new student, Gus, it's like, trying to teach them how to do this is going to take longer than it's going to teach them how to buy real estate. Right. So I moved over to a system that has all these things built in. But yes, agree 100%.
Love it.
Gotta have a CRM.
Get a CRM. Do yourself a favor. Listen to David, get a CRM for that follow-up aspect of it. And number three, like the third nugget I'm going to give you guys is when you're talking to the person, right? And this is what I teach my team, right? Especially in the motivated seller scenario. It's about having empathy, right? Having empathy and curiosity. Empathy and curiosity. Put those two together and you can have a great conversation even when someone's going through a tough time, right? And again, you never know what it is. So shut up and ask the question and just shut up and listen to what they have to say, right? Empathy and curiosity. Hey, I saw you click through our ad, that we have on Facebook about, buying properties within 7 days. Tell me more about your situation and then just shut up and see what they're willing to volunteer to you, right? And wherever the conversation goes, relocation, probate, death in the family, medical bills, job loss, whatever it is, be a human being, have a human conversation and show some curiosity about it, right? What are they going through? What does that mean for them, right? What kind of situation does that put them in? Like, man, that's a really tough situation. Go down the rabbit hole with them. It's worth it for you, right? And at the back end, you still have to have those qualifying questions, no doubt. I mean, you have to ask them, what conditions of property in? You have any equity? All these things. You have to qualify them. Don't get me wrong. But connecting with them, my ISAs, their number one job, David, to get those 100 appointments a day, they have to build rapport. That is the name of the game. They have to be a human being.
Man, I don't think I've agreed with anybody as much as I have with you. Honestly, we resonate. We're all in the same wavelength for real. I tell people all the time, I don't think I'm a good salesperson because I hate salespeople. I hate being sold. But what I'm good at is just making friends. I'm a good listener when I'm in front of a seller. I am curious. And it's funny that you say, like, I have empathy and curiosity. I never even realized that's why I'm good at my business and my job, not because I'm a good sales guy, right? And I had another quick tangent, right? I had one of my students contact me yesterday, and he was saying, Dave, I bought one of these, big nationwide sales guys. I'm not going to say his name because I do respect the guy, but he's like, I bought one of these, one of the big nationwide real estate sales guys courses. And he's saying, you need to ask the seller like 5 or 6 or 7 times the number before you make an offer. And I'm like, no, never. I would never do that. Ask them once or twice. And then if they don't give you a number, you give them a number. Why? Because then you can anchor low. Otherwise they're anchoring high. Like, I totally disagree with that advice. So yeah, you don't have to be good at sales to be a good salesperson. Gus, I love it. I agree 100%. You have to make a friend and have empathy and curiosity, and that's going to lead to somebody wanting to work with you. I mean, basically, whenever I'm out on an appointment with somebody, by the end of the appointment, they're selling me on why I should buy the house, not on why they should work with my company. I mean, does that make me a
100%.
good salesperson? I think so. But I don't have any tips or tricks. Like people are always saying, Dave, you're so good at this. I'm just a good listener.
What's the line?
I don't have anything
thing
up my
that's gonna
sleeve,
make them
guys. Like there's no tip or trick that it's just be a human and ask questions that humans want to listen to or hear or whatever. Like just be you. It's that simple. So Gus, I love it.
100%.
Absolutely love it.
100%.
I want to recap real quick. 3 steps. So Zapier is one of your tools or tricks, right? Because speed to lead. And Zapier is nothing more than just a way to automate 2 services together. So with Zapier, you can send a text or a ringless voicemail or an email or whatever to the lead as it comes in. And it's really, really cost effective. You can do like 2 or 3 or 5,000 of these different little automations for like 30 or 40 bucks a month. So number 1 was, that's a really good gold nugget right there. And it's setting it up. Zapier doesn't require any coding. It's all just kind of plug and play. It's really easy to use.
Point and click.
Really easy. Number 2, get a CRM. I am a huge proponent and promoter of realestateinvestor.com because I have been struggling personally with CRMs for the last 6 years. And some of them are great at this, some of them are great at that. But the ones that are really good, they typically require you to go to a boot camp or hire somebody.
Podio's a beast. Podio in particular is like a monster. Yeah.
Which one?
Podio is
Podio.
Kind of a beast, right?
So I mean, Gus, I'm not bragging when I say this. I'm embarrassed. Like I probably spent 25 or 30 grand making my Podio a powerhouse, and I'm bouncing, bro. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like it's just, it's too much. Now stuff breaks and it changes and software's updated. And then all of a sudden, all these bells and whistles end up being anchors. And it's like, I don't want this anymore. I just want something simple that's designed for real estate. So I'm not trying to get on that tangent. Number 2, get yourself a CRM. Whatever you do, do not rely on your brain because that's going to let you down 100% of the time. And then last but not least, we covered this just recently here, but empathy and curiosity. Guys, you want to know the secret to sales? It's to not sell. That's it. It's to be empathetic and curious and make a friend. People want to do business with friends. They don't want to do business when they're getting sold. So stop approaching your appointments as if you're the best and that your company is the only one. And if they don't go with you, they're an idiot. You're not going to have success with that mindset. Instead, say, listen, I want to do everything I can to help you. And, maybe I'm new. Maybe this is, one of the first times, but I'm real excited about this. And I'm confident that I can provide, a win-win solution and help you solve those problems. But I really want to know why. Why are you having these problems? Let's talk. And then just listen.
They couldn't care less about you. They could not care less about your track record, about your bank account, they could not care less. It's about them. What are they going through? How can you help them solve that problem? You're not going to know unless they're willing to tell you what's really going on. And David, I mean, you talk to sellers all the time. They've got their guard up. They might not be willing to volunteer that information, right off the bat, right? You got to kind of show them that you care, or at least understand, at least listen to them, right? And you will be surprised what you'll be able to find out.
100%. Okay. So Gus, before we start talking about why your company is the most amazing company that it sounds like it is, I'm sure that it is. One more quick question, so for somebody that's maybe doing online leads already, right? And they're not having that much success with it, or that they're maybe thinking about it. Why does the whole online lead gen not suck? You had mentioned earlier, you're like, Dave, it doesn't suck. Cause that was the first thing you were like, hey, let's do a podcast. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Online leads kind of suck. And you're like, they don't suck. So tell me why they don't suck. I want to know. And I want everyone to listen very carefully here.
That's great. So usually that's the number one, feedback I hear sometimes from real estate agents, from investors. Oh yeah, online leads are the worst. Man, online leads suck. So I hear this from my ISA sometimes, right? Oh man, these Facebook leads are the worst. So I always want to break it down and go again, this is the engineer coming through, right? Okay. What specifically are you saying when you say they suck? And there's usually one of 2 things. Number 1, no one's picking up, bro. I mean, I'm calling, and no one's I never reach anybody. These are bogus. So it goes back to what we talked about before. How many calls are you making, right? Because most people are not set up for that marathon that the Facebook lead requires, right? So that's number one. Are you doing enough to get them to pick up the phone and respond to you? Are you texting them as well so you can respond any which way they want? Okay, that's my answer to the first one. Are you calling them enough times? Are you giving them enough opportunities? Again, this is the fall of 2020. I'm busy. There's a pandemic going on. There's a potential recession happening. My mind is somewhere else a lot of the times. I've got people that I want to talk to that have left me 3 voicemails. And I want to talk to them. I just haven't had the time to do it, right? So understand that, right? 100%. And then the other thing is, let's say you're reaching people, but the second complaint is that these people are not motivated. They don't want to meet. They're not ready to go. No, this is the worst thing ever. And we're talking about scripts, right? How many people are you talking to? Okay, you're talking to a good amount of people. How many appointments did you get out of that? How many signed deals? And if the conversion rate is garbage, they go, this might be a you problem. It might not be a them problem, right? Show me your pitch. What are you saying to them, right? Because if you're going for the kill too early, if you're doing most of the talking, well, no wonder they don't want to talk to you. No wonder they don't want to meet with you. No wonder they don't want to open up. Oh, no, it's too soon. That is a nice person saying that they don't want to work with you. Oh, you know what? I'm not that interested. Oh, they don't want to say that they don't want to work with you, right? People are usually more polite than that. They just won't pick up the phone the next time. They just were going to say they're too busy at the moment. They're just going to ghost you. That's the nice way of saying you kind of suck at what you're doing. So understand that part of it. So I would say it's usually one of those two things, David. How to stop leads from sucking is, are you calling them enough? And when you're talking to them, are you saying the right things? If you're doing both of those things, then let's have a conversation about your ads and your creative and everything else. But first off is those two things. Are you calling them enough times? And when you're actually talking to them, are you even saying the right things?
Man, I'm taking notes over here. This is, guys, you have heard me podcast time and time again. This has been one of my favorite shows of 2020, truly. And I'm not just saying that to blow smoke, Gus. Everything you've said, I agree with, which is rare. I disagree with a lot of things, right? Everything you've said in the last 45 minutes, I 100% agree with it. And you have a way of saying things that makes it simple and just easy to understand. So again, Gus, I really appreciate you coming on today. I'm grateful for you, your time, your knowledge, your educational, everything, just all of the things that you have been providing us and me. And I'm not going to say I don't learn new things on every episode. I do. But I've learned a lot on this one, and it's also been very reinforcing. So I'm not doing any online ads, but after we end this show, we're going to talk about how I can get started with working with you and your team. So Gus definitely has an awesome service. Gus, tell us a little bit about the service. I know that it's PowerISA. That was the company name here, but you had sent over a website as well, Get Speed to Lead. What is the website? Is it powerisa.com or Get Speed to Lead, or where is it at?
It's actually, it can get a little confusing. It's actually both. So powerisa.com is our company website. It's more geared towards people that want to hire like a full-time or a part-time telemarketer. So that's more of our dedicated, team. You want to hire a virtual teammate to do like a massive amount of calling for you. That's one of our services. Okay. GetSpeedToLead.com is our pay-per-lead service. It's like, hey, Gus, I don't need a full-time person. I'm only generating 20, 30, 50, maybe 100 leads a month. And I need someone to call them. I need people to make those calls, make those 10, 15, 20, 30 calls. And that's not going to be me, but I don't have the budget, or my company's not mature enough to hire a full-time or even a part-time person. And it makes more sense for me to pay per lead. That's what that is. It's our pay-per-lead service. So depending on where you are in your journey, if you're just getting started, you've already got enough leads coming in, you're not tending to them, you're not following that follow-up sequence, get some help. Have someone help you out with that, and put it into that system. So that's what that is. So just depending on where you are in that journey, it can be a pay-per-lead kind of service for motivated sellers, or it can be a dedicated ISA, cold calling, prospecting, following up, setting appointments for you.
Wow, I love it. So guys, Gus has been ultra grateful. He has hooked us up, right? basically you can go check out PowerISA.com. You can go GetSpeedToLead.com, and you can learn and see about all of his services. However, Gus has given us a special link, and it's going to be in the description of this show. So regardless of where you're seeing it on YouTube, or if you're listening to it on a podcasting platform, you can just pull up the show notes, and there's a link in here. And this link is going to actually give you 20% off of your pay-per-lead service, or 10% off of a full-time cold caller. Guys, that is a big deal. I mean, that adds up. You're talking 10% of off of a full-time person. I mean, basically every 10th week is free. Like, come on, that's massive, right? And 20% off of the per lead service. I'll be honest, I was actually trying to get this lead or this link for me to join, and I'm like, hey, can we use this with all the listeners and the viewers? And he was like, okay, fine. So we talked him into it, and I appreciate you hooking us up with that discount, Gus. So thank you. So guys, check it out. There'll be a link below the video or in the show notes. I don't get anything from this link. It's other than me getting a discount when I go to sign up. So it's not a link like that. This is a link for you guys to save a few bucks, or it could be hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, depending on how much usage you're wanting. So again, go check out Gus. His two companies, it's PowerISA.com, it's GetSpeedToLead.com. And then if you decide that you want to move forward with those, use the link that's attached to the podcast or the video here, because it's going to save you guys some money. Gus, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, man, I'm impressed. We're gonna have to do this again, because it's rare that I resonate with everything that the guests of my shows say. It's rare that I agree with everything that they say. And it's even more rare that I'm like saying, all right, let's slow down and just re-emphasize what you just said, because there's a lot of value there. And I did all three of those with you. So, man, I am honored to get to meet you. It's been a pleasure. I'm grateful for your time. And when we wrap this episode up, let's stick around for a few, and let's talk about how we can work together, because I am not doing online ads right now, and I know I should be. And I'm pretty confident that you're going to be able to point me in the right direction, but also start helping me close these deals by setting appointments. And 14 follow-ups, like that. Is that a standard thing that you guys are doing?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so actually, our shortest plan is 14 touches. The shortest,
guys, the shortest. Even my team. I mean, I beat this into the ground. Follow up. And like every deal that we do, when you go back in the system and you look at all the touches, there's at least 14 in there. There is. It just is, right? But whenever we don't do a deal, and I'm like looking at all these leads that we marked dead for whatever reason, or just kind of fell through the cracks, that's the problem. It's that we're not following up enough. So the fact that you guys lead with that, like that's the business, following up and everything else that comes along with it, like there's no reason that you're not going to have success with that mindset. And that's what I love. So Gus, thank you for coming on this show. I'm grateful for your time. It's been an honor to spend some time with you, and of course to meet with you. And again, guys, you've listened to my show. It's rare that I say, stick around after the show, because I want to talk to you and I want to actually get moving. So that's what we're going to do. Guys, thanks for listening. Gus, any departing words for us here today?
All right, just thanks for the opportunity, David. And I think the reason we clicked and we have a lot in common is because you're a practitioner. You're doing this. You know what works.
I'm not a guru. I'm a practitioner, guys.
It's hard for someone to come in and tell you, oh, this is the next best thing. And you're like, well, I've never seen that work ever.
Well, I just get told that every day. You do too, right? You're always getting sold. And you're not selling. You're basically saying if you're not doing this, you're leaving money on the table. And it's like, well, 100%. You can't disagree with that. Just like I was talking about, you're not selling, but you're providing value. And it's like, that's what people want. They want value. They don't want to be sold. So Gus, I love it. Thank you for your time. Guys, if you decide that you want to move forward like I am, so I'm telling you right now that I'm going to be working with Gus here in the next week or two, no matter what, right? If you want to move forward, take Gus up on his offer. The only way you can do that is by clicking the link that's in the description or the show notes or whatever it is. And that's just Gus, just hooking us up. So Gus, thanks again. I'm looking forward to working with you guys. Signing off. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach a wider audience. To jumpstart your real estate investing career, visit freewholesalecourse.com, the most complete free course on wholesaling real estate ever. We would also appreciate it if you left us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. Thank you in advance for your support. And remember, you make your money when you buy, you get paid when you sell. Now let's go build some wealth.